Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast, aka the Pup List. We're a Green Bay Packer fan podcast, broadcast, vidcast, whatever you want to call it, cast. We bring you topical and relevant Packers news, but we mostly bring our humble, subjective opinions. This is episode 330, Ren. We're recording this on a Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. The Packers just won, coming off their bye week against the Bengals in week 6 at home, but it's on to week 7, the Cards. Just a reminder, this is a video podcast, so go ahead over to YouTube and check us out there. Otherwise, we're live. We're doing it live right now. And you can find that on X, YouTube, and even Twitch if you go over there. I'm your host, Tay, and joining me, as always, is right here.
Ren, what up, Tay? Hopefully a win is in the cards, Tay, out in the desert this upcoming Sunday. I'm tripping over my words just like you were at the start of this thing live. I know you don't like to edit these things, Tay, but man, we could already use a little work here about 2 minutes into this thing. So
That's right.
How are you feeling as you got to digest a little bit more of that uninspired dub Sunday afternoon in Green Bay?
I mean, you're right. You nailed it. It was a little uninspired. But I mean, coming off of that win, the feeling you get it wasn't great. Like I guess we're kind of expecting the pack to be a certain way, and we're just not getting that entire package. And I think a lot of that is that feeling. But really, Ren, after digesting it, I do say to myself, this isn't bad. They're still working stuff out. They're still going forward. Week 6 is in the books, but they're not playing their best football, and in the grand scheme of things, that's okay. Like they need to be playing their best football in the latter half of the season and into the playoffs if we even get there. But that's when you want firing on all cylinders. And yeah, we got a little taste of that for weeks 1 and 2, and I think that set us up a little bit. But now things are a little bit back down to earth. We're, going through some, not growing pains, but just struggles, like having everything align perfectly the way we thought it was going to be. It's just not that way. So this is what the Packers are right now. They're still developing who they are, what they're going to do, what they want to do, and slowly eliminating the mistakes, the penalties, and all that stuff. And finally, we'll get a good game out of them, like a 4-quarter game. But we'll talk about it, towards the end of the program. But the Cardinals, I mean, I think this is a good week to, like we thought last week, get back on track. But we'll discuss that more later. But I want to hear from you, Ren. What did you decide for yourself 3 days later here?
I mean, it's kind of the same stuff, man. I mean, you got to hear a lot about it with regard to this football team who is dominant from not allowing points in the first half of football games to being, I think, the worst or near the worst in the fourth quarter in the NFL with allowing points. They don't seem to be able to hang on to leads and then put teams away, and clearly playing down to competition, as we've seen, 3 straight weeks in a row. Obviously, you throw the bye in there as well, but that's consensus. I mean, it's nice. I mean, the Packers are, at the top of the NFC North because they have one loss. There's that albatross of a tie in there. So that's where they sit currently. We're in the only division in the NFL that has 4 teams, all 4 with winning records. Obviously competitive division, still 2 to go against the Bears in this division. We're in week 6, still 2 to go against the Vikings, and obviously the big Thanksgiving Day rematch with the Detroit Lions. So a lot of football to be played against some strong opponents, obviously including Philly and others down the stretch. But we're going to have a much better idea, let's say, about not a month from now, but 2 months from now. It'll be early 2 months from now. It'll be mid-December, man. We'll be 10 days from Christmas. It's kind of crazy to think that way, but 60 days from now, that's where we'll be at. and we'll know what this team looks like. I mean, I think they're comfortably a playoff team today. I don't think this team, barring a major injury to Jordan Love or Micah Parsons, is going to be nothing but a shoe-in to probably be in the playoffs. But where will that put them? I mean, today, as we sit, they're the number two seed in the NFC. So we'll see what happens. But and they're not playing their best football. So, and that's, like you said, you want to be ramping up as we get towards the end of the season. This is still feel it out time. We're a bit through now the extended preseason, and these teams will start to show us their true identity, I think, over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Who are the contenders and who are the pretenders? Some teams will fall out of this thing, and some teams will jump in. You saw some weird stuff like Carolina beat Dallas. I don't think Dallas is a super football team, but that was certainly a surprise.
Yeah.
Baker and crew down in Tampa seem to look like a legitimate contender. You see the Rams kind of up and down. The Lions, obviously, taking a bad beat in KC and then some bad blood after that thing. So, it'll be interesting, but it seems like at least this year, more than some of the other years past, maybe in the last 5 years that we can remember, this thing is about, as much parity as there can be amongst NFL teams this season. And that's what the league wants, no doubt. It's fun for everybody's team for the most part, outside of those teams like the Jets with no wins or a few of those like the 1-5 Browns. Again, we know where they got that dub. Those teams are essentially out of it, along with teams like the Titans, etc. But there's a lot of teams in the mix, and we'll see kind of how this all shakes out over the next, quarter and a half of the season. It's going to be a interesting watch, but there's no one dominant team this year.
No.
The Eagles have the Vikings on Sunday, and I don't know who you root for there. It's a tough one, but if Philly loses again, do they start to spiral? Because we've been hearing in the media, with Brown over there, is he kind of discontented? And then obviously our old friend Zadarius Smith, he signs with him for like $4 million, and then up and retires. Is that, he says it's just his thing, but is that a sign that maybe he's like, I don't want to be here in Philly, this is a train wreck waiting to happen? I don't know, but
that's not a good like a litmus test there for Z Smith. I don't think he's the one you kind of like test the waters with and believe what's going on, because he's a case into himself of odds are a little bit different, and it's hard to trust that guy. But I did see that just before we jumped down here that he retired. I was like, really? Okay, all right, you go, you do you, Z. But yeah, I think it's crazy to see some of the big teams fall this weekend, and it's kind of great to see, because we're kind of in that ourselves a little bit, like reality check the last few weeks here for the Packers. But a team like the Ravens, man, like they lose their quarterback, their franchise quarterback, and then they're just spiraling. And I think
they had a bad defense to begin with. I mean, Jair Tay, I think when he has played, he's giving up the highest quarterback rating in the NFL. I mean, so the Packers dodged a bullet not being able to keep him, and he just can't ball out anymore, man. It's unfortunate, but it seems like his injuries caught up with him, and that high end game he once had is not something he'll probably ever get back.
Just I guess be grateful that the Packers are in the situation they are when compared to teams like the Ravens that were really good teams the last few years, and all of a sudden it takes 6 weeks to turn everything around, and they're spiraling. They have to win like every game going forward to even make the playoffs. I mean, we're not in that position, like nobody is in the NFC North, which makes it great and exciting. I don't know where the Bears came from. All of a sudden it's like they're 500 plus, and it's just it's insane to see where we're at. We now it comes down to that Thanksgiving game is real important, and then obviously all division games are important, and I don't know, even maybe the NFC game this coming weekend might be a little important, but we'll get to that in a minute. But you brought up Micah Parsons before, maybe being a crucial part of this defense. We really haven't seen him a lot since like week 2, and there's been a lot of speculation and I guess addressing or accusations, Ren, of the refs not calling holding against teams that are blocking. And would you agree with that? Like, is that something you're seeing and you're calling foul on too?
I mean, when you go back and look at some of the stuff, and as others have pointed out, and isolate some of that stuff, it's happening, no doubt. I mean, he is getting double teamed pretty much more than anybody in the NFL. He's getting double teamed at a 68% rate. I mean, which is incredible. And in fact, I want to say for Rashawn Gary, it's like 47%. So I don't know how you have that many guys in the line. You know, that's 4 guys right there, you know, soaking that up. But that's also, you know, also speaks to, you know, outside of those 2 guys, you know, somebody's got to get loose, and they got to figure out ways to move Micah around, to, you know, stun some things, get different looks. I want to say it was the Steeler game where Jalen Ramsey had 2 big sacks for them. You know, bring up X and, you know, mix some stuff up. Jeff's going to have to get a little bit more creative with this defense, I think, because again, the sacks haven't been there. The pressures the Packers are getting a fair amount of pressure. And so is Micah. It's just not, obviously, again, when you're double team, it's just taking too long for somebody to get there. And in that time, I mean, I think Cincinnati had the right game plan, and that was to get the ball out quick. I mean, Joe Flacco averaged less than 5 yards per pass, air yard. You know, it's just like that's what they had to do. And then he got a couple big ones when it counted to Chase. Obviously, he had 94 yards, I want to say, and he had that beautiful, you know, almost double covered catch, you know, just throw and catch near the corner right by the goal line and get in for the touchdown. But teams are going to do that to the Packers. They see the recipe there. How do we do this? Let's get it out quick. Let's not give guys like Micah and Rashawn time, and we'll just kind of dink and dunk our way down the field. And, you know, in the case of Cincinnati, have a 17-play, 78-yard, 10-minute drive. And, you know, Green Bay's got to stop them. And that's where you hope the Packers, you know, on third down can. They have the 6th best defense on a third down in the league. But, you know, the reality is if they're not getting the third down every time, you know, their guys are going to, you know, teams are going to continue to move the football on them. And they haven't seemed to have a lot of answers for that in the second half of ball games. Again, in the first half, I think they're allowing the least amount of points in the league. But then it's a different story. And in this league, you need to be able to put teams away, and they just haven't done that over the last month.
I mean, Joe Flacco, I think he passed approximately 45 times. They had 45 pass plays.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you sacked him once and no hits, no pressures, basically. And it's that, I know that bothers everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Are you bothered by the no stat ticks on Micah Parsons' stat sheet in the last few games? Are you still
not really? Because I mean, again, he's getting double teamed like that. I'm bothered by the lack of somebody else not getting those. You know, that's the issue. You know, where are the other guys that need to get some of those sacks and QB hits? You know that, and again, let's see where half hopefully can adjust this defense and turn it loose a little bit, knowing that, you know, hey, he's going to get doubled, but where can we send pressure? Because we're not getting it at times, and they need to get these sacks up ultimately to get the non-existent turnover thing going.
I was gonna bring that up because looking at the stats for the Packers on both sides of the ball, they're generally within top 10 or better in a lot of the major categories. But when you look at the defense, they are 20th in sacks with 12, and they're 27th in interceptions with 2. I think Javon Bullard has 1 and McKinney has 1. That's it.
It's Evan Williams.
Evan. Okay.
Yeah,
My
Evan
bad.
Williams had that nice pick against Goff in that game that was big at the time. And really you can't even really count the McKinney one, because that was essentially, as people call it, an arm punt at the end of a half where he's just throwing it up.
Yeah.
So,
yep. That's terrible. I remember last year when we were on pace for McKinney having interception per game, 1 per game. Remember how fun that was?
I think last year, you know, through what we are week 6 going to week 7, he's still going on the streak. Yeah, was it 7 weeks in a row? I want to say it was pretty crazy.
So where is that? You're right. Like, call that out. Let's go. Like, why? That could be the difference maker in like letting some of these teams hang around that
Mhm.
really don't deserve to. I mean, put these guys away. We ended up with 27 points on Sunday, which is great. That's a good number, right?
And that's basically what they're averaging across all the games, and that's enough to, again, the Packers should really be 4-1.
Yeah. But why didn't it feel that way? Why didn't it feel good? So it's just it's a strange. We always find ourselves with the Packers like this. It's very strange to me that sometimes the wins feel like a little bit like losses. But
yeah, it's weird too. I mean, even before last week, there was already no undefeated teams left in the NFL today. So this thing is odd. But yeah, I mean, the Packers could be that team still 5-0, really. I mean, when you look at it, but it's just, the turnovers got to start happening, and they've got to get a little bit more creative. And everybody was laying all the flowers at Hafley's feet, through his first season, and then obviously to start the season this year against Detroit and Washington, but it's just dried up and it's gotten a little stale. And figure it out. I mean, Edgerrin Cooper, was on pace to become the next superstar, and he's kind of fallen off a little bit here as the season's progressed. And get him involved. Maybe you dial some stuff up for him as well. I don't know.
And what are you talking? Wyatt is really the only like major loss to injury that you've got, and you're still kind of like seemingly faltering and not being able to do anything from last year to this year. And this year should be better with Micah Parsons. So it's a little strange. I just hope they turn it around. They've got to, and they've got to do something else. So yeah, coaching. Hafley's got his work cut out for him. We got to see some more production to, I guess, feel better about this defense as a whole, enabling themselves to go deep into the playoffs. So we'll see.
And certainly they have enough quality roster talent on defense to be a top 5 defense, no doubt about it. But again, when you're not getting pressure, you're going to make that back end look pretty bad, and they have down the stretch.
Let's move over to our injury report. Here we go, Ren. We got another long laundry list here. 14 again, just like we had last year. Some of the names are different. We got 3 full participation. That's Warren Brinson. He's finally back. We haven't seen him for a long time. Javon Bullard, he had a concussion evaluation this week, but I think he left the game. He was unable to finish the game, but obviously in full participation, I think he's gonna be fine. I don't see any issues with that. Golden had a shoulder issue, but he's full participation. And let's talk about him for just a quick minute before we move on. But Golden was great. I'm glad he had a kind of a breakout game. I kept hearing career game for Matthew. It's like week 6 in his rookie year. It's like, okay, I guess.
I mean, what did he have? 3 receptions for about 83 yards. I mean, I wouldn't say career. I mean, obviously in his early NFL career, sure, Tay. But I mean, I think there's much bigger things to come for Matthew Golden. But Matt LaFleur in his presser today basically kind of stood the line with, we're just going to throw the ball where the open guy is. We're not going to feed one certain person, when basically saying, the media asking him, especially, guys like Matthew Golden and Tucker Kraft, like you got to figure this out a little bit more. I mean, Kraft needs to be more involved. Yeah. I mean, he had the touchdown, but only 2 receptions that game today. And we know he can be so much more. We're going to talk about a featured tight end, in this matchup on Sunday afternoon. And he's probably at the moment the new best tight end in the NFL, and Trey McBride. But
I got to pick him up in fantasy.
What's that?
I got to pick him up in fantasy.
Oh, you got to pick him up?
No, I'm just teasing.
I was gonna say, man, you're gonna probably have to make a trade, because I don't know who's got that guy, but I'm sure they're doing okay things with him, because last week he had a heck of a game too.
Oh yeah,
and that opposing defenses that have a good tight end, offenses that have a good tight end like to pick on the Packers. That middle of the field has always been an issue.
Absolutely, Achilles heel. Moving on to limited participation, Josh Jacobs with an illness, I guess. Apparently, I don't know if anyone heard about it beforehand, but afterwards he was throwing up before the game, during the game, and after the game. But dude balled out.
Oh,
Amazing. And just
that's why I'm repping tonight, Tay.
Yeah, the angry runs
for Mr. Illness, man, throwing up on the sideline, putting up what do you have, 2 scores and 94 yards on the ground. He's averaging, Tay, in the last 3 games over 40 yards as far as receptions are concerned, receiving yards as well. So, I mean, you're talking dual threat, and he seems to be getting better week to week and getting into his rhythm.
Jordan Morgan with a knee, Jacob Monk hamstring, Anthony Belton ankle, Lucas Van Ness the foot, Dontavian Wicks ankle, and Christian Watson, who didn't play last week after coming, having his window open, transferring off the PUP list, or he's on the PUP list now, off of IR. This could be Christian Watson's game.
I thought they'd play him last week, Tay. I really did, but the conservative Packers, you got Watson out there last week, paraphrasing again, telling you he's feeling basically 100%. Why isn't he active on Sunday? I don't know what they're going to wait for. It's like, we just don't want to rush him along too fast. I mean, I think he's there. He's ready. So I hope they just say, you know what? Let's just roll him out and let's go.
Dontavian Wicks, Tay Wicks, who left Sunday's game, had an ankle injury. He was back at practice, limited. Not really sure if that's going to affect him being able to be playing this week, but maybe there's a reason to bring Christian back this week. I don't know. But Van Ness, who
left on the cart. Thankfully, it sounds like they dodged a pretty big bullet with that one.
That was like right at the end, right?
I think it happened right after the sack he got, I want to say.
That's right. That was, I think that was the play. Right.
The only sack.
Yeah, the one sack.
The lone sack.
Matt LaFleur had his press conference today, and he was asked about some of these other players. Marshawn Lloyd is getting closer, but the window isn't open yet. Whatever. Well, I guess we'll see it, or we'll believe it when we see it, whenever that might be. Devontae Wyatt is closer, but I doubt he's playing. I don't know really where he's at. I don't know if anybody really does, but he's just not participating. LaFleur gives these kind of coach speak answers. He's getting closer. It's we're evaluating him. It's like, well, what does that even mean? How long are we talking here? Because clearly he's an integral part to our interior defensive line. It would be great to get him back.
Yeah, they did release, you got McManus on there too, and we still have our Lucas Havrasik. I think you got me to pronounce it maybe correctly after I did not initially, but I think he's still with the team because obviously a big question mark there still this week with Brandon, and they released their international pathway player in McNamee, which is interesting because I mean, why don't you just keep him on the roster on your practice squad, because it's a 17th guy, and unless you got another international pathway guy, it's just going to sit open. So
yeah, exactly. And Zach Tom also did not participate. He was said to have been in excruciating pain all game. So I don't know.
Here's one that's questionable, right? We've known this injury since basically week 1. He's been dealing with stuff, and why not just IR him? Obviously you can return. You got so many spots you can do that. Just let him sit on the sidelines for a month and heal up. At this point, his play is not great, and obviously that an injury is affecting it. I would just sit him down for probably at least a month and then bring him back and deal with what you can deal with.
Anthony Belton, who has been injured since week 3 with an ankle injury, he's back at practice, limited participation. Maybe that's it, Ren. Maybe they just don't have confidence in not putting Tom out there, that they're just worried about it. I don't know what they're reasoning is, but if he's struggling and not performing well, yeah, you got to do something. You can't just leave him in there.
I think, in some of his limited play, Kennard has been, serviceable when he was put over there at right tackle. And that's the route I'd go. Maybe they're just a little bit worried that they're a little thin with the backup, with Belton not being available to slide him in. If something happens to Kennard, I'm not quite sure. But, I mean, if he's in that much pain, Tay, and again, we saw some of the play on Sunday, I just don't know how much value you're getting out of Zach Tom by putting him out there.
Me either. All right, Ren, let's move on to a little Cardinal action.
Hey, how about...
I love cutting you off with my
Yeah, I know you do. It's a good time. We should that should be a drinking game. How many times you cut me off, or how many times I speak over you?
Right.
Probably a lot. But that said, you should get up the Cardinals injury report or the opposing teams every week, because I mean they've got a laundry list this week. Tay, ours doesn't look that great there, but for the most part, we know it's down to like 3-4 guys that are likely not going to play, that are integral, obviously, in Tom and Devontae Wyatt. But outside of that, I think most of those guys are going to play on Sunday. Obviously, McManus is still a concern, but the Cardinals, I mean, they don't know if Kyler is going to play on Sunday. Marvin Harrison Jr., he had a concussion. He only had Junior, but we don't want to give everybody my best impressions here too.
Even Zay Jones is questionable.
Yep, and Zay Jones had himself a nice game when obviously Harrison Jr. couldn't play, part of that game. So they're really banged up. They have guys like Connor on IR already. He's not going to be back this year. I want to say they have a cornerback and a safety also on IR.
They have a lot of players on IR. When you scroll through their roster, it's like in every position group, there's at least 1 or 2 IR people. So they've been decimated by injuries, but still this team's got a little fight run.
They do, and their loses is a 4 straight. But LaFleur in his presser too, quote unquote, good football team. We better be ready to play. I think he feels what the fans are feeling out there, and that is, we haven't gone out and played a complete game. And if we let this Cardinal team hang around in their house on Sunday, we might lose this thing because, while they've lost 4 straight, they've lost those 4 straight by 4 points or less in each one of those games, Tay. And total combined, it's like 9 points. In those 4 losses. So they're 2-4. Every game's been a 1-score game. Granted, they lost to teams like the Titans. They could have won that game last week at the end. I know their fans weren't real happy. They went for the win and it didn't happen. But this is a team that can come up and bite you, even if Murray doesn't play. Say Jacoby Brissett, another veteran quarterback, backup quarterback. The Packers play those guys so well.
He might Flacco us.
Yeah, I mean he put up 27 points last week. Like they'll tell you in Arizona, should have been 34, but 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, 89.2 rating. They were 9 of 14 on 3rd down. He did take 12 quarterback hits, and he dropped back 44 times to pass last week to Flacco's 45. So again, they're going to be passing the football because I want to tell you in a minute, they can't run the football. We already, mentioned Connor is out for the season, and he was off to a good start, and that's all she wrote. But Bam Knight I think he's kind of their feature back. It's a good running back name, Bam Knight. But averaging 3.1 yards a carry, and the Packer run D only allowed 55 yards to the Cincinnati Bengals. So not a stout rushing attack for the Bengals either. But this team can get you, and where they can get you, Tay, and I mentioned it earlier when we were talking is that man, Trey McBride, man.
You said tight end. I thought you were going to say their newly acquired tight end this week, Ren, Josiah DeGuara. They picked him up, a former Packer. He'll be number 45.
Little intel.
A little intel, a little too late.
Yeah, I don't think he'd have much intel these days. But
no, I thought I'd.
Is he a tight end? Is he a fullback? Is he even an NFL player, Tay?
Oh, he's ready. He's back, baby. He's back. Watch out.
It's amazing that guy can find work in the NFL, honestly. That was what was he, a third-round pick? That was a Gutekunst's third-round pick? Woof. That was a bad one, man. I think it was from one of his ugly drafts back in 2020, 2019, one of those bad drafts.
5 years old, 19 or 20. Yeah. You're talking about Trey McBride. The dude's 6'4", 246. He's been around for several years now, number 85. He's their stud right now.
Yeah, that's the offense goes through him. Marvin Harrison's been a little bit of a disappointment coming out as high as he did last year. People are expecting big things, obviously, with the family lineage there, Tay. But McBride averages 5 receptions a game, but he had 8 for 72 and a TD against the Colts. I mean, he's going to get his on Sunday. We know that. You just hope it's not too much. He's just one heck of a football player. If you're going to pinpoint anybody on that offense, that's the guy to look at. You mentioned earlier, obviously, Zay Jones as well, and he had, I want to say, 84 yards last week after obviously Harrison Jr. had to leave with only the 34 yards. So they don't have a ton else there you really worry about as playmakers on offense. It really begins and ends with him, man. And I don't know if they're any better off if Kyler plays or he doesn't. You're talking that little guy back there. He's kind of hitting the wall. I kind of view him in my mind as kind of like that Tua kind of guy he's a serviceable NFL quarterback, but is he really that good? Does he really win the big games? Does he? I don't know. Does he strike the fear of anything into any team? I really don't think so.
A lot of the Phoenix media now, Ryan, is saying, is there not a controversy? Well, you could call it that, but are they better off with Brissett playing quarterback? And you probably would have to say yes right now because of the production between the quarterbacks. Like Jacoby's doing them right, and he's making stuff happen. And I don't know if that's a leadership thing. They just kind of lost it with Murray. But Jacoby he's been around for a while, 32 years old, and he's got that veteran presence, and maybe that's enough where there's more, I don't know, is just more to fight for than to maybe Kyler's on his way out as that starter there, at least maybe in the locker room or from the coaching staff's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you got to win football games at this point. They know that. They're kind of behind the sticks at 2-4, and obviously with Brissett's 320 and 2 TDs last week, that's more than Kyler's done in any game this year. So that obviously would get the media and people talking out in Arizona that, I mean, he's a much bigger guy. I think he's got a bigger arm, to be honest. If it were me, I'd just say run Brissett back out there and see what he can do against Green Bay. The Cardinals outside of last week, haven't scored more than 21 in a game. And we know outside of the Dallas aberration, that 40-40 tie, the Packers don't really allow more than 20 points scored a game. So everything points to, this being, will it finally be the week where the Packers put away, a lesser opponent and dominate them, and we finally go, that's what we've been waiting to see for over a month again here as Packer fans.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be, we thought it was last week, but no, I really think it's this week now. And it's got to be.
It's maybe Sunday night against Aaron Rodgers, or maybe the following Sunday afternoon against the Carolina Panthers. And we just hope this week we can finally get that, put our feet up on the good old ottoman and kick back and watch a butt kicking of the Cardinals out in the desert, man. I'm waiting for it.
I hope so. I mean, they do have a little life. They have a little fight in them still. So you got to be careful, especially with their weapon being McBride, who is a tight end, and the Packers love to open the middle of the field on defense and just let the receivers gobble up that section there. And I think Jacoby's gonna play well himself. I mean, I think he threw one interception last week, but we need one of those ourselves, maybe even a fumble recovery. I don't think we have a fumble recovery or forced fumble since like week 2 or something. Something crazy. So more turnovers, please.
Well,
I don't know.
They can't have any fumble recoveries because they have 2 turnovers all year. We know what they are. They're 2 picks. So, and we know they're punching at the ball more than they ever have, but nothing's transpired yet that has benefited the Packers. So,
I think this Packers team is going to put up. They've got to put up their average. So, what's that average? Like high 20s.
I think it's 26.9 is their average. I want to say per game. It's right about there. 27 points is the Packers' average for sure.
That Browns one really browned them down, didn't it?
It did. I mean, but again, even in those first 2 weeks when they were playing so well, they left points on the board against both Washington and Detroit. So it could be even more. And Jordan's obviously playing pretty well. I think he's on the season. Well, the last 3 weeks he's hit 70 or better completion percentage 3 weeks straight. So. Obviously, Jordan's progressing. He's averaging, I want to say, 259 yards a game, 110.9 quarterback rating on the season. Look to build on it. That one play, we talked about it in the first take, that rolling to his left, throwing across right to Golden, to that big first down play late in the game was huge. That's a mature throw, and those are things you want to see. Where earlier in the game, obviously, he floated that one over the middle and massively missed. I want to say it was Musgrave. He threw that one high that Jacobs was able to pull down and rumble for 40. But so I picked on him a little bit. Obviously, I was in my feels on a first take, and that's what first takes are all about. He had a solid game, but he's got to clean some of that stuff up. That early pick, when he had no business throwing that football, you live to play another down, Tay. He can't do those things. Take the 3 there, throw the ball out of bounds, and just your next drive you hopefully get the 7. And it's too early in the game to make just kind of mental errors like that again. And that's the stuff Jordan Love still struggles with at times where he thinks he can make something out of nothing sometimes, and sometimes he's got to realize in certain situations this is not the time to do it.
I'm pretty optimistic again about the Packers offense. I'm hopeful that they can, do some more things, do some better things. I love the fact that Jordan's finally using his legs. Heck yeah, I love that he's getting first downs with them. Big deal. That's a huge thing for the Packers. Huge thing for him. I love that. Josh Jacobs is getting a lot more reception yards now for huge chunks and first downs. That's huge. You see other teams doing it all the time. With the sprinkling in now of Golden, and now you have the potential return of Watson. There are more weapons out there for Love to utilize.
And I'd like to see Savion Williams, as more of a regular receiver sometimes. Get rid of this end around crap and get him involved in the offense. But I think, when it comes to Arizona on Sunday afternoon, they're gonna do what the Packers do, and they're gonna try to establish a run. And I think they really can against an Arizona rush D that's not very good, and that should hopefully open up the pass offense, maybe with some Christian Watson in there amongst other guys with Tuck and Golden, and we start to see maybe a breakout offensive performance. I'm talking 370 yards passing kind of thing from Jordan, and maybe 3 touchdowns in the air and another couple on the ground, and they put up 40 on them and walk out of there feeling pretty good about themselves.
I'm gonna put it out there as 30 to 18 Packers win over the Cardinals.
I'm gonna go 35 because I said I said 7 times 5 is 35. That's what I'm going to go with, Tay. 35-17 pack. Do you know what the line is, Tay?
No, I do not. I'm
Take a
guessing.
stab at it.
I'm going to say it's 3.5 to the Packers. No, maybe 4.5 to the Packers. 4.5 Packers.
You had to go 2 up from there, and you would have been
6
on the number 6.5. Yeah.
I'm looking it up now. Yep, 6.5 to
I want
the
to
Pack.
say the over under is, I want to say 44, 45 points. So
Yep, 45.
Yep. So that's what she's looking like. I'd probably go over just because I think the Packers are going to score 30 plus, and obviously they're going to score at least 17. So and that'd get you the over on that one.
Well, it should be fun. It's a 325 game. They're both NFC teams. Is this on Fox still?
I want to say so. They just had another game on CBS last week, so
yeah,
I believe this is obviously going to be. I don't know why it's going to be one of the bigger broadcast late afternoon games, but inevitably, obviously, the Packers are a watch across the country, as we know they are America's real team, not Dallas, and we just hope come Sunday evening that we're talking about a dominant Packer victory for the first time in many weeks.
I was trying to find here it is. Most of the country will see Washington at Dallas for the late game. And so it's about
America's team. Why did I say that?
I know. So
yeah.
But that's Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady get that game, and then we get Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma.
All right. Well, Kenny Albert, he's a classic, no doubt.
Not all right, Ren. Well, that's all I got. Do you got anything else to take us into week 7?
Not really, Tay, until we find a win in these cards, Tay. We'll talk about it Sunday evening on the First Take on the Pup List.